Welcome back to NTX Varsity Sports Network. I am Hey Bachowski, and we're excited to meet with Coach Myers to talk about Centennial's high school sports. So you began your coaching job here as a defensive coordinator since 2010. So what's so special about Centennial that's kept you to stay here for so long?
Man, there's a lot of things. One, the kids. We have excellent kids here that work hard and do whatever we ask them to do. The community is great. You know, I've raised 3 kids here. One that's still in high school, 2 that came through high school here. It was a place that I knew I wanted to raise my family. You know, when I came here, my oldest son was in 3rd grade, and my other son was first or kindergarten. And I told them, you know, this will be the last place they go to school. And then the administration here is great from the top to the bottom. You know, they support teachers, they support athletics, and they do what's right for kids. So that, you know, that's what's kept me here.
So you just got the promotion to head coach. So how's that transition for you going? Going from defensive coordinator to head coach.
It's been good. You know, I think a little bit easier than what most people. You know, I've been here 15 years. Coach Geller and I were the only 2 that have been here since day one. So, and he did a good job of preparing me for this. I don't know that he ever knew that it would happen, but he let me do a lot of things that prepared me to fill this role. Of course, there's been, there's been some struggles and things for me. Just hiring a defensive coordinator, I coach football a lot less, to be honest. Like as far as like I'm not as involved as in the scheme and even the day-to-day. I don't know. That's a little different for me. More of a, more things that I do that aren't football related. You know, being a defense coordinator, pretty much all I focused on was football and kids, and now I do, the community stuff, and which I love. But that's just been that's kind of been different. But I think as far as the program goes, it's been smooth. You know, some little changes here and there, but it wasn't like someone coming in completely new and drastically changing everything.
Being the defensive coordinator for so many years, have you ever, found yourself drawn to the defensive side of the ball now that you're a head coach, or are you trying to stay more balanced still?
I've actually probably been more involved in the offense because I've had to defend all these things. For 15 years, I've had to deal with all these things. Often, offenses are so good nowadays, and being in Texas, every offense coordinator is good. And so I'm telling our offense coordinator, hey, what about doing this or that? The things that I know hurt me, I'm telling him, well, have you ever thought about this or that? So I've probably been more involved in the offense, but I'll always be involved in the defense. And then having to step back a little bit, I've got a great defense coordinator, Nick Stauffer, that's been here for 10 years. He's been our special teams coach and linebackers coach, and I'm 100% confident he's going to do good. So I kind of have to tell myself to step away and let him do his thing, make his mark and make his changes without me, looking over his shoulder all the time.
When stepping into the office, I noticed a trophy in this office, the Battle of the Boot. It's a huge rivalry in Texas. What does that rivalry mean to you? And, you'll have a streak going. You'll have won the past 3 rivalry games. What does that rivalry mean to you and to continue the winning streak?
For me, it's fun for the community and the kids. Like our community loves it. Our kids love it. It's just a cool atmosphere. As far as a coach goes, it's a non-district game, so I hate that. It's not the end of the world. End of the world if you win it or lose it. It really, in the big scheme of things, it's a non-district game, and it's just kind of for bragging rights. But it is fun. Our kids put a lot of importance on it, and almost have to talk them down a little bit. That it's not. I tell our kids the biggest game of the year is the game we're playing this week. Every week, I tell them that every week, and so I try to treat it as just any other game, and that's how I approach it. Now I think our kids get excited about it, but I think they also understand it's not. It's not, I liked it when it was a district game because then it had a little more meaning. But it's fun. It's a big it's a big atmosphere. Both my kids played in it, and they talk about that a lot, the atmosphere, battle of the boot game. So it's fun.
So you're in the summer workout process right now. 2 days is coming up. How has that process been with you? Being the head coach, and just what is it like for the guys going in from summer workouts to or spring ball to summer workouts to the 2 days starting?
Yeah, we did do spring football. I came in March and we did do our spring football and it went great. We got a month we changed our offense a little bit and we had a month to get that in and then we went into the summer and I think they've, there's been a lot of carryover. We've picked up right where we left off in the spring. Kids have been working hard. Attendance has been great. Attitude's been great. And as the summer goes, we kind of lift a little bit less and start to do more agilities and running. That's kind of the phase we're in right now. This week we, took a day out of the weight room to do some agilities and stuff to try to get ourselves ready for day one practice. But summer's been great.
So we just want to know how many of the returning starters you got on both sides of the ball. You got any talent that's been here for a bit?
Yeah, well, it's kind of unique on offense. We have one really full-time starter, Jalen Walker, our running back. He led the district in rushing, so he's obviously somebody to watch, and we expect a lot of great things from him his senior year. Other than Jalen on offense, we have some guys that have started a game here or there or played here and there, but he's really the only full-time starter on offense. Now we're going to start, counting Jalen, we're going to start 8 to 9 seniors. So we're not young, inexperienced maybe, but I think we'll start, we have a couple positions that are undecided, but we'll start 8 to 9 seniors on offense. So that's always good when you have seniors out there, even though they don't have that game experience. They're still seniors, and that's on the offensive side. We have we have 4 offensive linemen that are seniors, and most of them played pretty significantly last year. So I feel good about those guys. And then we have two senior wide receivers, Jake Harvey and Davion Sullivan, and then we have a sophomore wide receiver, Sir Kellen McClendon. So we have 3 really good receivers, and then we have a couple slots so we got a lot of seniors and a lot of sophomores. Jackson Deaton will play both sides for us. He's going to start at slot, and he had a really good spring. And then Creed Stafford is a sophomore that's going to play on both sides of the ball a lot. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. We got a lot of seniors and a lot of sophomores this year. We have 2 junior returning starters on the defensive side. So on the defensive side, we're returning 5 starters on defense. 3 of those are seniors. We have Andrew Hoffman, Marlon Land, and RJ French will be seniors that started all year last year. They'll kind of lead our defense. They're guys that have been out there and been in the battles. We have 2 juniors that come back on defense, Jaden Garcia and Jaden Vasquez. Were great players as juniors. And then we're going to start quite a few sophomores on defense, but I think they're sophomores. They're going to be really good in the future. Again, Creed Stafford, Jackson Deaton started 10 games as a freshman on defense, so he's a returning starter. Although he's only a sophomore, he played in 11 games. He came in halfway through our first game and then never came out. So we got a lot coming back, a lot to look forward to.
You mentioned a lot of seniors kind of filling in the role and, taking over as starter. Have you seen some of these guys, take in as a leadership role, just leading the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell our guys, you're really only as good as your senior class. It's hard to overcome, a senior class if they're not leaders. Anybody can be a leader, but you'd like for it to be your seniors, and you'd like for it to be your best players. Our quarterback, Brody Franklin, has kind of stepped up as a leader. He's got a lot of energy, and I can tell when he's not here in the weight room. He loves to lift, and he loves to get guys going. Jalen Walker, our running backs, turned into a leader And then, our two senior receivers I mentioned, Jake and Davion, work hard, And then on the defensive side of the ball, Christian Williams, he's a guy that's he's been behind some really good players in his career. He's going to start at middle linebacker and play some running back. He's stepped up to be a leader, and I expect a lot of things. He's a guy that's going to surprise a lot of people because he doesn't have, he didn't play much as a junior, but he's going to be one of our best players, and he's stepped up as a leader for the whole team, both sides of the ball.
You mentioned a few players, playing both sides of the ball. Is there a few players that might be, untouchable, or do you try to refrain from that, or is there just a few athletes that, they're just too good to not keep them on the field?
No, we make everybody play both sides. Our quarterbacks even play defense, and we have two quarterbacks right now, and one of them kind of won the job, and he started on defense last year, but our other quarterback, if he's not playing quarterback, he'll play defense. We've had two quarterbacks here in the past that played defense. While they were starting quarterbacks, were also defensive players. So nobody's really untouchable. We try to keep our offensive linemen from having to play defense, and vice versa, defensive linemen. Now most of them know how to play defense if we need them. It just gives us depth. I know everybody thinks we're a big school, but even at this level, like, you get guys hurt, we just don't have a ton of depth. And so playing both sides of the ball more than anything gives us depth. So if someone does get hurt or something happens, you have someone to fill in. There's not a year that you don't go through some injuries. So, no, there's really nobody that's untouchable. Even our quarterbacks play defense.
We've talked about you implementing kind of a new offense in the spring. Is there maybe a sneak peek of how this offense is going to look? Maybe run heavy, pass heavy, or, just a balanced set?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to be balanced. We're kind of going back. We changed our offense last year, and it fit the personnel that we had last year, and we had a lot of success. And a lot of those guys have graduated, so we've gone back to, we were a flex bone. We call it the spread option. That's what we've been. We ran that for 10 years. Last year being the only year we kind of got away from it. We're going back to that. I hired Preston Payton, he was the offense coordinator at Joshua this past season. Before that, he was here on our offensive staff. So we're going back to what we looked like prior to last year. But we've also kept some of the RPO and the passing concepts that we had last year. We're trying to kind of combine them because we do have some skilled guys that we need to get the ball to out there, and we have some quarterbacks that can get it to them. So a little bit of both, quite a bit of option, and running the football. But we have to be able to throw the ball. Ideally, I'd like to be balanced. But I think that goes week to week and game to game, kind of what you're doing.
So Centennial has had a history of making the playoffs. Has a streak going. Do you feel, a bit of the pressure, stepping in as head coach and, keeping them into that playoff contention?
Yeah, we've made it 11 years in a row. So, yeah, absolutely. I don't know that I'd say pressure, but that's our first goal. Everybody's goal is to win a state championship, but you got to make the playoffs before you win a state championship. So that's always our first goal, is to make the playoffs. And we've had, I think, 3 seasons where we were a 4 seed going in and upset a 1 seed and made, we've made some. So we talked to our kids about that. That's goal number 1. So I wouldn't say pressure. I mean, I do, I get, that's a goal of mine, to make the playoffs always. And then to try to make a run from there, So yeah, that's definitely on the front of our minds, is that's goal number 1. And being in a 7-team district makes it a little bit unique. You can't afford to slip up. So,
is there a part of your team that like a part of your team that's exceeded expectations? Maybe an offensive lineman group that's been playing really well, and or like a receiver's doing really, really well. It's just the part of your team that is just exceeding expectations and will make some noise next year or this year.
I think our offensive line had a really good spring. I thought those guys did a good job. I think our our linebacking crew, Christian Williams, and Jaden Garcia. Chris, like I said, he was a guy that hadn't played a lot, so I wasn't sure. I knew he had the physical ability, but watching him this spring, I think he's going to exceed expectations. Not my expectations, but just people that don't know him.
Last question for you. So, how would you describe this team as a whole? Like, just their identity as a team. Just their bond and the way they do things.
I think, man, we're tough. We're gritty. This is one of the closer groups, man. I couldn't have asked a better group to step into. We don't have anybody that's too good to play scout team or do anything. I mean, they're all in, and they're a close group. And sometimes you don't have, there's been times that we didn't have that. And we had, like I mentioned, we have some leaders in this group, but they're a close group, and I think they've got a little chip on their shoulder to prove, especially this senior class, what they can do. But the culture that they have is great. I'm blessed to be able to coach this group of kids in my first year.
All right, that's all I got for you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Good. Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you, Coach Myers, for sitting down and talking to us. We look forward to seeing how the Centennial Spartans do this season. Until next time, I am Hayden Pashowski, and this is NTX Varsity Sports Network.